From PRX, it's... This week, humorist John Hodgman.
We have many people come up to Maine every summer saying, I just read Moby Dick, shall we go a-whaling?
With music from China Forbes.
Well, a Pink Martini record is created in more of sort of a swirling chaos of many people. And my album was like being alone in a room most of the time.
That sounds like Boundaries.
And our fabulous house band. I'm your announcer, Elena Passarello, and now, the host of Livewire, Luke Burbank.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out for Livewire here in Portland, Oregon. We have a phenomenal show in store for you this week. I can't wait to get to it. Of course, though, we got to kick things off the way that we always like to with a little segment we call The Best News We Heard All Week. It's sort of right there in the title, okay?
Yeah.
The best news we heard all week.
Yeah.
But just in case you need an explanation, a lot of the news is not the best news. And so we search far and wide. Yeah, somebody in the audience said no. I can't disagree with that analysis, sir. So we go find some actually decent news and we tell you about it just to try to keep everybody's spirits a little bit up. Elena, what's the best news you heard all week?
So there was an article in, of all places, the New York Times recently.
Okay.
They were
Heard of it.
very busy doing some hard-nosed reporting, and they came back with some information that we can all use. The side part is coming back.
So people are cheering. Did you hear the cheering?
Yes.
So I didn't know this, but during the pandemic on TikTok and places like that, there was an all-out assault on the side part as being like millennial chuggy.
Chuggy.
Yeah, which I had to learn how to pronounce that in order to say this. And middle parts were just all you could do
Yes.
if you wanted to be au courant. And it was like what a millennial would do to part their hair on the side. Also things that were considered not au courant anymore. Skinny jeans.
Okay.
No-show socks.
No-show socks being the kind of like little short ones so you can wear your shoes,
And have 'em
but it
peek
doesn't
out.
look like you have socks on, but you have socks on.
Totally didn't know that.
Yeah.
Using the laughing so hard you're crying emoji.
Oh, no.
Which is my love language, basically.
I literally wore that emoji out.
Yeah.
Like that is
You're the reason it went out of style.
Anybody who knows me, that I probably punctuate almost every and also not just punctuate, but add that into the middle of every text message that I send.
You're like, the test results came back.
They're not good. Laughy, cryy emoji.
This is my favorite thing that apparently was as unfashionable as the side part for the past 6 years. Lasagna.
What?
Poor Garfield.
I mean,
So the good news, I think, is not just that the side part is coming back and I am apparently back in fashion, but the real good news is I don't give a crap. Like, I had no idea. I was
right.
I've reached the age. They didn't even talk about my generation. I've been tossed overboard to do whatever I want with my pants and my lasagna, and that,
yes.
that is the best news I've heard all week.
Shine, sweet freedom.
Yeah,
The freedom of no longer even being in the conversation. The best news that I heard all week takes us over to England, where they have the English Heritage Society. And like they run a lot of these English heritage sites, you know, castles and gardens and things.
Yeah.
And they were noticing that a lot of the people that were using these English heritage sites tended to be families and tended to be, in particular, parents with kind of younger children. And a number of the people who kind of worked for the English Heritage Society were also themselves parents with kind of younger children. And they were having this feeling of like sort of parental loneliness.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's a weird thing because you have these small humans that need you so much, and yet in that, you can also feel kind of like lonely. They were looking at this one study over there that found that 2/3 of new parents said they felt lonely or isolated, at least some of the time, and almost 90% said they felt overwhelmed some of the time, which sounds low.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that should be like 130%. If you
like new parents and their neighbors.
Yes,
They're all-
exactly, and anyone in their orbit. So they sort of hit upon this idea, which they're now putting at all of the English heritage sites, which they're calling them bonding benches. And they're putting these in the areas where people were hanging out, and watching their kids play on the the playground or the whatever stuff. And so it is a bench where if you are a parent and you would kind of like to maybe strike up a conversation or just whatever, you can sit on the bench. You can have a chat. Here's what they did though, because I heard a little bit of hesitance in your voice, Elena. There is a little sign that you can slide on the bonding bench, and it goes from up for a chat to craving quiet.
Oh, nice.
So they're factoring in that maybe not everybody on the bonding bench wants to have a conversation with strangers. I'm hoping that people avail themselves of the up for a chat function a little bit, because I totally identify with that feeling of getting into an elevator or getting on the airplane and sitting next to someone, and that feeling of dread about opening up a conversation with someone you don't know.
Do they want to talk? Do they not?
Do you want to talk to them? Is this going to be torture? Have you noticed, Selena? I feel like the Germans, if they don't have a word for it, they should. It's the sound on the airplane when the airplane has landed and is taxiing, because everybody starts talking to the person next to them, because worst case scenario, you're with them for 8 more minutes. This massive anxiety fever breaks, and everybody wants to talk to everybody on the plane, because you're not rolling the dice on the next 5 hours of your life.
Yeah, and it's always terrible when you're getting into a good conversation with someone, but it kind of naturally peters out, and then you have 4 more hours of flying, and it's how do you break up with this person so that you can watch Below Deck?
This is why AirPods were designed.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I just do think, what I can say is that when I engage in conversations with people, the vast majority of the time, I feel enriched by the experience. It's like so many things in life where you kind of don't want to do it, and then after it happens, you're like, I'm glad that happened.
Yeah.
So the idea that some parents in England are having their loneliness at least moderately sort of improved is, for me, that's the best news I heard all week. You're listening to Livewire Radio. Let's get our first guest on out here. He's an author, actor, and comedian whose work has appeared everywhere, from The New Yorker to Mad Magazine. He's also the author of wonderful books like Vacation Land and Medallion Status, where he detailed his exploits, talking a struggling public radio show into purchasing a first-class ticket all the way across the country as part of his all-consuming pursuit of airline miles. That radio show was this one, Livewire. But it's fine. He's also co-host, along with Jesse Thorne, of the hit podcast Judge John Hodgman, and we're so thrilled to have him back. Please welcome John Hodgman to Livewire. John, welcome back to Livewire.
It's so nice to be here, to have flown here again.
I know. We've dined out on this story too many times. In fact, I made it a goal to not bring it up this interview because we've talked about it at length, but then they put it in the intro, and I thought it was kind of funny.
They put it in the intro.
Yeah.
It's a wise NPR host who blames his staff.
You think this show's on NPR? We're PRX.
Oh, excuse me. Well, I have to fly home now.
Yes. John Hodgman, everyone. A lot of folks know you from your Judge John Hodgman show that you do with Jesse Thorne, and also in the pages of the New York Times. How did you get into that role? It was something you were doing on a different Maximum Fun show, a character, and did you have an air of judginess and authority about you that cast you in the role?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that I am judgmental. And I had already been on The Daily Show as a fake resident expert and self-made deranged authority on all things. So my friend Jesse Thorne, who has a number of wonderful podcasts and radio shows, including Bullseye on NPR, and as well the podcast on Maximum Fun called Jordan Jesse Go, said, would you ever consider being a judge, like Judge Judy or the People's Court, where you hear disputes from real people? And I said, I've waited for this call my whole life.
Here's what I think is so funny, though, is that you are, as far as my knowing of you, one of the nicest people in the business. This morning, we were trying to locate a candle that's related to the Judge John Hodgman store.
Yes.
It's the scent is what, again, of this candle?
Well, it's our holiday scented candle, and the smell is justice.
And And you were like, I sent you this email really early in the morning and said like, hey, do you travel with the candle? And you said no, but then I look and you're on Instagram where you have hundreds of thousands of followers. You're trying to locate the candle. My point is, you're a very nice, very thoughtful person, and yet your persona is kind of being someone who's a bit imperious and kind of judgy. I don't find you to be that way in real life, though.
Forgive my pause there, Luke. I was looking into the eyes of my lover. It was such a kind thing for you to say, and I just wanted to savor it for a moment.
Are you feeling? I'm feeling radically unstable right now.
The Judge John Hodgman podcast is judgmental, true. We have real people calling in with real and sometimes surreal disputes. Friends, roommates, a lot of couples, some siblings and so forth, and they're asking the hard questions like, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Right. Or could you beat up a great white shark, which happened during, what was that show, Probable Jaws?
That was our show, Probable Jaws, it was called. But yeah, we had...
What did you decide?
Well, it was two women who were friends, Jessica and Natasha. Natasha wanted me to rule that her friend Jessica could not, as she claimed, beat up a great white shark. And we did not put it to the test.
No.
Because I didn't have to. It turned out Jessica cannot swim, which is something of a disadvantage when fighting a great white shark. And I did examine, and Jessica has only one row of teeth. So I figured that it was unlikely that she could beat up a great white shark.
Her teeth do not replace. She doesn't have another row that comes out and replaces the broken ones as soon as that happens.
Exactly
like
so.
a shark would.
Exactly so. But, you know, what we're looking for, even though some of these disputes seem silly, we're looking for the emotional crux, the reality behind them. So, you know, we had a father and son on, and the son was very upset with the dad because he would always tell the exact same joke. Or I should say inflict the exact same joke on any server in any restaurant he might go to.
That's right.
And he would say, whatever it was, I'll have the Kung Pao chicken. And it didn't matter whether it was an Italian restaurant. Actually, it didn't matter if it might be a manned toll booth. They would say, I'll have the Kung Pao chicken. And we have settled law in the court of Judge John Hodgman, which is be mindful of the work that you leave for others. So if you make a joke, no matter how funny you think it is, that joke causes your server confusion, and they are a trapped audience, and you are making more work for them as they try to figure out what's wrong with this weird dad.
Right.
You shouldn't do this to people who are just trying to help you, you know. And similarly, you know, like if your husband is doing the laundry and folding it, you shouldn't pretend to be a cat and knock the laundry over. You can save that kind of role play for a different room in the house.
So the show is built around this idea of these kind of somewhat silly disagreements, but you're also trying to get to the emotional core of just what it is to share life with people, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, another piece of settled law is that, you know, people like what they like. You can't force your loved one to love your favorite movie or even like it. You can't force your husband, as one woman in Ontario wanted to do, to like your favorite topping on French toast.
Which was?
Ketchup.
I believe you sort of experimented with this with Nick Offerman?
Yeah, Nick Offerman was a guest on the show, and I made him eat French toast with ketchup. I ate it as well. And, you know, could have been worse. Could have been worse, but don't ever do it again. I do want to say that we did have one of our listeners, Pam, up in Seattle, suggested some years ago a different flavor combination, which is eggnog mixed with orange soda. And I tried it, and it's damn delicious.
Yeah.
And in fact, we have it every year on our holiday episode. We call it the Fanta Claus.
You and Jordan Morris have been doing something on a yearly basis that I just can't stop thinking about, and I want to ask you about it right after this quick break. We're talking to John Hodgman here on Livewire. Much more coming your way in just a moment. Welcome back to Livewire from PRX. We're at Revolution Hall in Portland. This week we are talking to the great John Hodgman. You have been doing this once-a-year podcast with Jordan Morris, who's also part of the Maximum Fun universe.
That's correct.
And it's a yearly podcast about cheese.
Yeah.
And it is called?
Shooting the Breeze.
Breeze, as in B-R-I-E-S.
Yeah.
And I think that might
again was another Jesse Thorne idea. I don't know what weird spell he put me under that I have to do everything he says, including doing cheese shows based on terrible wordplay. But I'm happy to talk about cheese at any time. I've monged cheese professionally in my time.
You were
know.
a monger?
I've mongered.
Did you monged?
I once did a TV story about the International Cheese Mongering Championship in San Francisco.
Oh, you've never sold cheese. You've never cut the cheese.
These hands have never mongered.
No.
My friend, these are the soft hands of a public radio host. You've actually cheesemongered.
I worked in a fine cheese and wine shop in London when I took a semester off from college to go on a drink abroad program that I had devised for myself.
The something that you've been creating for a while now is this secret society. It's a Substack, but how do you describe it? It's sort of great. It's your musings on life. It's all kinds of interesting information. You put in little video clips and things.
Yeah, so like everyone on Earth, I have a Substack now, and I started it as an opportunity to just sort of let people know where I was appearing, like I'm going to be on Livewire, for example. And then I started and I would muse and so forth. Then I started to lose faith in my musings, and I was like, what am I going to give to the people who belong to this secret society? And I had a couple of years ago, I had joined an online book group with our friend Christopher Frizzell. He has his Substack, and his book literary Substack is called Frizzlit. And he would host these Zoom meetings, and I was reading Middlemarch, which is a wonderful novel by George Eliot. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I read the whole thing thanks to the friends in this group who kept me honest. And I was like, oh, I love this book so much. What will I read next? What piece of English language literature, classic that I had never read, will I read next? And it came to my mind. I'm a weird, withered New Englander. Why not Moby Dick? And then I'm like, well, if I'm reading Moby Dick, why don't I read it out loud to the people who subscribe to my newsletter? And if I'm reading Moby Dick out loud to the people who subscribe to my newsletter, why don't I do it in a fake Maine accent?
Right.
Because I spend part of my life in Maine. I don't like to reveal where it is. I'll just simply say that it's a coastal town that shares the name with a borough of New York City. Now, some of you are going to get very smart and look at a map and realize Hodgman lives in Staten Island, Maine.
Yes.
But the point is, I love the Maine accent, and I love it so much that I occasionally murder it for other people's amusement.
Because you're from Brookline, Massachusetts.
I'm from Brookline, Massachusetts, so right. I don't. This is the Brookline accent. You probably can tell.
The famous Brookline accent.
The famous down-home Brookline accent.
I love listening to you reading Moby Dick, though, through this secret society Substack.
Thank you.
In your Maine accent, and I was wondering, even though the folks here at Revolution Hall and the folks listening on the radio may have not actually paid their $7 a month to subscribe to the Substack, could you favor us with a little bit of your...
Well, there just happens to be a copy of Moby Dick here. Now, when I say that this is my Maine accent, this is my interpretation of a Maine accent it's about half an homage to the non-Maine humorist Marshall Dodge, who released records under the label Bert and I, and also to Pepperidge Farm.
That's my Maine. That's my North Star.
Yeah,
when it
right?
comes to
you remember, right?
If I was going to switch into a Maine accent, I would be quoting a guy from the Pepperidge Farm commercial.
And so, if you've ever read Moby Dick, it's quite wordy. And I find that reading in a Maine accent gives it's a little bit more parsable, let's say. I'm going to read from the very beginning. It's got a very famous opening line. This is chapter 1 called Loomings. Call me Ishmael. Some years ago, never mind how long precisely, having little or no money in my purse and Nothing particular to interest me on shore. I thought I'd sail about a little and see the watery part of the world. 'Tis a way I have of driving off the spleen and regulating the circulation. Whenever I find myself growing grim about the mouth, whenever 'tis a damp and drizzly November in my soul, whenever I find myself involuntarily pausing before coffin warehouses and bringing up the rear of every funeral I meet, and especially whenever my hypos get such an upper hand of me that it requires strong moral principle to prevent me from deliberately stepping into the street and methodically knocking people's hats off, well then, I account it high time to get to sea as soon as I can. This is my substitute for pistol and ball. With a philosophical flourish, that were my reference to self-harm. With a philosophical flourish, Cato throws himself upon his sword. I quietly take to ship. There's nothing surprising in this. If they but knew it, all men in their degree, sometime or other, cherish very nearly the same feelings towards the ocean with me. Anyway, I went to sea. There was a big whale named Moby Dick, and we tried to kill it. The end. That's it.
The whole book. Wow.
I didn't.
It just flew by.
I mean,
when you read it in a Maine accent, it's much more readable. It's just like, oh, there we go. That's it.
incredible.
Wow.
That's John Hodgman reading from Moby Dick here on Livewire. I do actually genuinely enjoy hearing you read it in that accent, and I feel like I could listen to you read the whole book, which is sort of the point, right? You're on chapter 50 or something at last check?
Let's see. I was just looking at it, chapter 49. Oh, yeah. So I just finished chapter 49, the Gam, which refers to when whaling ships tie up to each other to exchange letters and news when they meet each other in the far ocean, something I learned about boats. And then my next chapter, if you're interested, is I'm very excited to read. It's called The Town Hose Story. I'm reading it cold as we go.
You are?
Yeah,
You
I've never
haven't
read it before, yeah.
So you get surprised.
Oftentimes I get surprised and very confused. There are long portions of the recording of me reading where you just hear me typing things into Google to find out what they're talking about, the various whaling terminologies.
There's so much information about whaling in Moby Dick. It's really almost a manual of how to do it, which is sort of surprising when you think of a novel.
Well, good luck to you. We have many people come up to Maine every summer saying, I just read Moby Dick, shall we go a-whaling?
What is it about Maine? I mean, you've written about it so much. You obviously have really, really taken to the place.
I'll tell you, it's all I can think about, and it's hard to stop talking in this accent.
What do you love about it so much up there?
Well, you know, I spend time on the coast of Maine, but even on the inland portion of Maine, it's quite remote. There are many remote parts of our country and this world, but you know, Maine is literally the end of the road. I-95 terminates in Maine. The oldest highway in the United States runs from Fort Kent, Maine to Key West. And both of those places share a marginality, you know, like a very end of the earth type place where people who have difficulty with other people thrive.
Do you think that describes you?
Yes. I mean, I'm reaching that point of my life when it's certainly better for me and probably better for anybody that I simply stand silently and contemplate the abyss, whether that is the darkness of the woods in winter or the ocean that wants to kill me in summer.
It suits you there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's full of eccentric and strange characters, and if I had time and didn't care about continuing to live, I would tell you the gossip of the town, and you would be shocked. But they would hear me, and then I would be put in a wicker man or something. I have a feeling.
You know,
I've already said too much.
Portland Magazine, that is Portland, Maine,
The original one,
our rival. Portland Magazine named you as one of the 10 most intriguing Mainers. How big of an honor was that for you?
Well, there are only 12 intriguing Mainers. And I'm not even from there, so no. Oh, I mean, you know, the other thing about Maine is, you know, it's a little bit wary of people from away, if not a lot of bit wary of people from away, until you spend enough time there proving that you're not a complete and then slowly over time, you know, I remember when we would go into the post office, the then postmaster would not speak 2 words to us for year after year after year. And then one day she said, "Good to see you again. How was your winter?" or whatever. I'm like, "What happened?" And the answer is, we just stuck around. So yeah, there is an allure to feeling accepted by a place that acts as though it wants to reject you.
Yes, that's been negging you.
Yeah, exactly. It is the negging state. Yeah. You know, I was just going to say, have you ever been in a terrible relationship where someone treated you awfully and you just wanted to be near them all the time? Well, that's me in Maine. And it's not just the people, it's the landscape as well, you know. And in my book, Vacation Land, I talk about, you know, they called it Vacation Land in the 19th and early 20th century before people knew what a vacation was. Right. You know, like people hadn't yet discovered that there were beaches of soft sand and waters that were warm to swim in instead of the pebbles like knives and the water that just wants to kill you. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a love of, you know, going to Maine is not a pleasant vacation. It's rather an existential test.
Well, you as a sort of, I guess, maybe somewhat conflicted booster of Maine.
I'm not conflicted. I love it and I want to share it with everyone, but you all have to stay away at the same time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Definitely not conflicted. We wanted to ask you some questions about Maine in this little exercise we're calling Our Maine Man. By the way, just for clarification, we are on the radio on Maine Public Radio.
WMEH.
Yes.
Bangor, Maine, indeed, the entire Maine Public Radio system plays Live Wire at 10 p.m. on Friday nights.
We did the prime time.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's just right during everyone's Friday night commute, 10 p.m.
That's right.
Some questions about Maine for John Hodgman. The state flower is a pine cone, the white pine cone and tassel. It was adopted in 1895. We're wondering, is it time to revisit that selection for your beloved state of Maine, considering a pine cone is not a flower? It's the state flower, and it's not a flower.
Is it not a flower, though? I mean, botanically speaking?
I'm going to, let's see. For science minds, it's not a flower, a reproductive structure for a gymnosperm. Does that clear it up at all? I'm just reading what's in the notes.
A rose by any other name.
A gymnosperm.
Would gymnosperm as sweet. I mean, one thing I learned on this stage earlier this year when Judge John Hodgman performed live here is that an asparagus, botanically speaking, is a flower. That does not mean that your wife wants you to give you a bouquet of asparagus on your anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about the fact that, well, this is kind of calling on sort of your legal scholarship.
We'll see.
Apparently in Waterville, Maine, it is illegal.
By the way, I have a degree in literary theory, not in law.
But I like how when you're talking about Judge John Hodgman, you're talking about settled law. In other words, things that have been discussed on the program and then now have become foundational to the sort of jurisprudence of your show.
Absolutely.
Which I think is cool. I would take it over some of the actual jurisprudence that is going on in America currently.
Oh, is there some?
Well, calling on your your legal scholarship, in Waterville, Maine, it is illegal to blow one's nose in public. Should this law be expanded statewide?
Well, there's very little public in Maine. Most of it's private, even in gatherings. No one is looking at you or thinking of you. That's one of the great lessons of Maine, too, is all the time you worry about what other people think of you, they're not thinking of you at all. But no, I think people should blow their nose wherever they like.
Really?
Yeah, especially in Waterville.
There is an online rumor that the state of Maine requires homeowners to remove holiday decorations by January 14th. or face a fine. Well, this is technically not true. Should it be?
It is not true?
It is not true. It's a rumor, but I don't know, with enough legal maneuvering, maybe it could become the law. And would you like to see that in your beloved state of Maine?
Well, I mean, I understand why the rumor, honestly, I understand why the rumor exists, because Maine is one of, if not the only state where billboards are illegal.
Wow.
People don't even think about when they drive through Maine why they're like, why is this so beautiful? Like, I mean, it's basically New Hampshire with a coast. Why is this so pretty? Well, it's because there are no advertisements.
How will I
around.
know which casino to go to
Exactly.
for a giant prime rib dinner?
Yeah. And, the other thing is, and I've learned this recently, like on your private property, you can keep political signs up, but there are no political signs allowed in like after electoral season, all political signs have to come down. On your private property, not so, but like in median strips and other sorts of things. And honestly, for a long time, there were no political signs at all because the people in Maine really don't care what anyone else thinks. So it's like, and that's the way it should be. Like everyone's just themselves and they let everyone else be. And they're not trying to, now that's a little bit less so, but for a long time, it's like, you do your thing and I'll do my thing. And if you get stuck in a ditch, I'll help you out. But otherwise, let's not talk about it, So that's good. But in terms of bringing down holiday decorations, yeah, January 14th, yeah, get them down.
Okay. In Portland, Maine, the original one, it is unlawful to tickle a woman's chin with a feather duster. What do you think the minimum sentencing guidelines should be on this? Mandatory minimums.
Well, I know from personal experience that this is enforced very strictly. No, I would never. That's an interesting one.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I can agree with that law. We shouldn't be tickling anyone with a feather duster who did not request.
Yeah.
Well, one of the pieces of settled law of the court of Judge John Hodgman is if it's not fun for everyone, it's not fun at all. So, you should not be violating other people's space.
Forget tickling.
And chins. Yeah.
And it's a feathered duster. It's not a feather. Like if you just had a loose feather. It's the cleaning implement that you're not allowed to tickle a woman under the chin with.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, I don't care for feather dusters, but if you wanted to take a Dobie sponge and scrub my face all over, to me that's very erotic. But that's not you necessarily.
Speaking of your face, you've been keeping us all updated on the internet about your beard that you've been growing.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Well, I grew a beard some years ago in order to make sure the world knew that I was no longer ever going to procreate. That I was no longer sexually available, that I was a dad, my children are grown, my genetic role in life is over, and everyone can leave me alone.
Throw a Hartford Whalers hat on and call it good.
Exactly. But then I recently had to shave it off for a super secret project that I can't tell you about. But when I grew my beard, I wrote about this in Vacationland that every person who can grow a beard needs to do it at least once because they want to see the secret person who's lurking follicularly inside their face.
Yeah.
Who's gonna come out? Who do you become when you grow that beard? And I realized, well, obviously lurking inside of me is the human resources manager for the Church of Satan. And when I shaved it, it had been so long since I had been clean shaven. When I shaved it off, I was like, oh, it's you again. That weird baby man. So anyway.
So you're returning to Church of Satan status.
I'm trying
one day at a time.
As fast as I am able to. I mean, everyone can tell that this beard is horribly patchy and terrible. And
I think it looks lustrous and full and luxurious.
Hey, you know what? This is radio. We can say whatever we want.
Yes, we can.
It looks like your chin is being tickled by a feather duster.
It does.
That's right.
They call it the feather duster. My beard is called the feather duster.
All right, that's John Hodgman here on Livewire, everybody. John, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That was the one and only John Hodgman right here on Livewire. You can find John, of course, over at his hit podcast, Judge John Hodgman, or you can follow him on Substack like I am, where he is continuing to read the book Moby Dick, chapter by chapter. And again, it's oddly mesmerizing with his Maine accent. So check him out over there. Hey there, listeners. Wanted to let you know that we will be back at the Alberta Rose Theatre on March 19th with the hilarious comedian and internet sensation Atsuko Okatsuka. We'll also talk to Daisy Hernandez about her new book, and we will hear some music from one of our very favorites, the folk artist Laura Gibson. You can get tickets and more information at livewireradio.org, and we'll see you March 19th. You're tuned to Livewire. Let's get our musical guest on over here this week, shall we? She is the lead singer of a world-renowned little orchestra you might have heard of called Pink Martini. She's also the winner of the Ella Fitzgerald Prize at the Montreal International Jazz Festival, which is a high honor. And she's released albums as a solo artist. Now, of late, she's been taking a little sabbatical from her touring schedule with Pink Martini, and she's been enjoying life at home after years of globetrotting. This is China Forbes, who joined us for a little chat and then some music. This all happened at the Laurelhurst Club in Portland, Oregon. Take a listen. China, thank you so much for doing this. It's a big honor for us to have you here. Thank you.
I'm so touched that you asked.
Well, because I know that you are technically supposed to be on sabbatical right now.
I am. My sabbatical is so busy.
Yeah. What went into the kind of thought process on that to take a little step away from Pink Martini?
It was sort of a round number. I'd been doing it for 30 years, and my son is now 16. He's about to turn 17. And I just felt like the years were slipping by. I was missing half of my time with him, and I didn't want to look up and find that he had gone to college and I had missed the whole thing. So,
see, that was my plan with my daughter. Look up one day and find out she'd gone to college. Pretty good outcome.
It was so easy. Yeah. How did that happen? So yeah, I made the decision. I'm so glad I made the decision because it's already working out so well. We have dinner together and he opens up to me about his life in a way that he never did before. So.
Do you think that's based on knowing that you're not jetting off to somewhere to have to perform with Pink Martini?
I think we were always, in alert mode. I'm just coming back or I'm about to leave, and there was always something coming. And now it's very calm now. I'm just always there. I'm doing the potted plant thing that they say you're supposed to do.
Which is what? Because I've had zero success historically.
Yeah. Not with your, if you don't have to have a green thumb with your plants, but you're supposed to act like a potted plant and just plop yourself down there.
Really?
In order to be a good parent.
I think so.
Or one way to be a parent.
For teenagers, yeah.
Just be a
That's what they say.
Just be in the room.
They
just get in a corner and
say
go.
it.
And wait.
Just oxygenate.
Until they approach you?
But don't be a cactus.
Oh, okay. Maybe that was my problem.
Like a fern. I'm a fern. I'm just a fern. Okay.
Let's talk about this solo album that you released. What was it like to create that album versus the way that a Pink Martini record gets created?
Well, a Pink Martini record is created in more of sort of a swirling chaos of many people. And my album was like being alone in a room most of the time.
That sounds like boundaries. Like you were ready to just do your thing.
I needed some alone time. But a Pink Martini album is sort of in that swirling chaos. There's swirling harps. There's lots of orchestration. There's just so much beauty, and my album is more just like my personal stories, and my heart is in that album in a way that's different. And it's a very open album. I talk about divorce. You can relate, right?
Yes, I can. We weren't recording that part where I talked about my divorces, but now America knows.
Sorry, America. So my divorces, I talk about motherhood. I talk about mental health and middle age, and it's just like I got to talk about everything.
Before anybody was here at the Laurelhurst Club today, you got here and you were, I think, maybe just warming up and testing out the piano and stuff like that, and you were just playing, kind of singing along, and people just started coming to the foot of the stage like cartoon characters from a Disney movie.
Like little forest animals coming to...
There was a chipmunk sitting on that speaker right there. Like you were, I don't know, Snow White or something. Like, what, Is that like a superpower for you that you, I mean, do you, like, are you just used to being able to sort of make music in that way that it really draws people in? Like, not everybody has that ability.
I definitely, I've always done it. I mean, when I was 8 years old, I knew that I was going to be a singer. And I didn't go about becoming a child performer, but I just knew that one day I would be a singer. And I idolized Donna Summer, and that's how I learned to sing, by imitating her.
Wow.
And I wish
That's a high bar.
I didn't quite make it to like perfectly imitating her, but it was helpful to get started, and just to sort of look at her. I mean, back when you looked at the jacket of the LP and you fantasized about wearing those dresses and the glittery eyeshadow and everything. So I had a whole, fantasy life around that.
This is Livewire. We're talking to China Forbes, the vocalist and lead singer of Pink Martini. We've got to take a very short break, but do not go anywhere. When we come back, you're going to hear an original song from China Forbes that you do not want to miss. I've already heard it, and I can tell you, it's incredible. So stay with us. More Livewire in a moment. Welcome back to Livewire from PRX. I'm Luke Burbank. Okay, before we get to our musical performance from China Forbes, from Pink Martini, a little preview of what we are doing on the show next week. We're going to be talking to best-selling author and beloved misfit, that's her term, Lydia Yuknavitch, about her latest book. It's called Reading the Waves. It's kind of a memoir, but it's also kind of not. She describes it as more of a sort of exploration of memory, which she'll explain exactly what she means by that. Then we're going to hear from TV writer Felipe Torres Medina about his book, America, Let Me In, a choose your immigration story. It kind of peels back the layers of how insanely complicated the U.S. immigration system is. It's all told through this choose your own adventure format. Remember those books from when you were a kid? Then we're going to round things out with a performance from Seattleite and indie rocker royalty Dave Bazan, a.k.a. Pedro the Lion. So we're going to have quite the show next week. Do not miss it. In the meantime, this week, we're in the midst of listening to a chat with China Forbes, lead singer of Pink Martini and solo artist of great renown in her own right. We're going to jump back into that conversation, and then we are going to hear some music from China. This was all recorded live at the Laurelhurst Club in Portland, Oregon. Another, interesting element of your life is that, your sister made a whole movie about your childhood.
Yes.
Infinitely Polar Bear, which is an incredible film, by the way. But, of course, with movies, there's always the cinematic aspect of it. There's the part that is, if it's a movie that's a biopic, there's the parts that resemble real life and the parts that resemble something that works better for the film.
Right.
I'm wondering what that was like for you to sort of be portrayed on film that way.
That's so funny that you should ask, because I'm still upset about that.
I didn't know that, but I'm not mad that there's a little drama happening here on the show.
Well, there's a scene, my sister wrote and directed the movie, and her character has something happen in a scene that actually happened to me. Oh. But it worked better for the screenplay for it to be her character.
So in other words, she knew that it didn't happen to her.
Yes.
But for the filmmaking aspect of it, it made more sense for it to be her character.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like? Or did you know in advance? Or did you find out in the movie theater like everybody else?
I think I found out in the movie theater because I feel like I would have said something. But maybe I was also so supportive of her that I may have just been like, oh, it's hard to write a screenplay. You got to just let her do what she's doing, you know?
Well,
But-
solo album next.
Yeah,
Just throw a
exactly.
verse in there that involves
Yeah.
her prom date. or
China
something.
Forbes,
Yeah.
correcting the record. Actually, that would be a good name. Correcting the record. Get it? Well, again, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for being so, just generous and gracious with our show over the years.
We love
Appreciate you.
Livewire. What can you say?
China Forbes, right here on Livewire.
I released a solo album a couple of years ago, and I'm going to play a song from that album. This is a song that is really for everybody. I think everybody can relate to these words. Anybody tell you this will be so easy? Stay inside the lines and the blue horizon. All I can tell you, heartbreak is worth it, and there's nothing you can't get through like you do. But you gotta wonder what you're really made of when you're falling under some spell you don't understand. So you get back up now, make a new beginning. Suddenly you're back where you started again. We come full circle, we go round robin, we go up, we burn out, we come down. I go Hail Mary, you go half Nelson. Never know when this place come back around. Anybody hurt you like it doesn't matter when the love is over? Was it just a dream and you thought you'd left those lonesome days behind you? They came back around, they came back around, they're coming round. We come full circle, we go round robin, we go up, we burn out, we come down. I go Hail Mary, you go half Nelson. Never know when this place come back around. Don't let go of the wheel, give it up, you'll fall down, because nobody else can turn your world around, and life will sweep you off your feet, knock you off and drag you down. Someday you'll find yourself back here again, and you won't believe how far you've come, and you won't believe how much you've done, and you won't believe that you keep coming round, keep coming round. We come full circle, we go round robin, we go up, we burn out, we come down. I go Hail Mary, you go half Nelson. Never know when this place come back around. We come full circle, we go round robin, never know when this place come back around. But you know this place will come back around, back around.
That was China Forbes here on Livewire performing her song Full Circle. That was recorded live at the Laurelhurst Club in Portland, Oregon. All right, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Livewire. A huge thanks to our guests, John Hodgman and China Forbes, as well as many thank yous to the wonderful folks over at the Laurelhurst Club in Portland.
Laura Haddon is our executive producer, Heather D. Michelle is our executive director, and Melanie Sevchenko is our producer and editor. Eben Hoffer is our technical director, Trey Hester is our assistant editor, Valentine Keck is our operations manager, and Ashley Park is our marketing manager.
Our house sound is by D. Neil Blake, and our house band is Sam Pinkerton, A.L. Alves, Ethan Fox Tucker, and A. Walker Spring, who also composes our music. This show was mixed by Eben Hoffer and Trey Hester.
Additional funding provided by the James F. and Marion L. Miller Foundation. Livewire was created by Robin Tenenbaum and Kate Sokoloff.
This week, we'd like to thank members Jane Blakemore of Austin, Texas, and Joy Rothschild of Portland, Oregon. For more information about our show or how you can listen to our podcast, head on over to livewireradio.org. I'm Luke Burbank for Elena Passarello and the whole Livewire team. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.